Rain hammered against the glass wall of the penthouse suite, as if trying to warn her, but Zainab barely heard it over the sound of her own heartbeat. Her back hit the cold marble pillar, breath-catching as Kang Dae-hyun closed the distance between them, slowly, deliberately, like a man who'd spent years mastering restraint and was seconds from breaking it. "Why are you running from me?" he asked, voice low, steady, too calm for the storm in his eyes. "I'm not," she whispered, though her trembling hands betrayed her. He caught one wrist gently, raising it between them. "You only shake like this when you feel something you don't want to admit." She swallowed hard. His warmth seeped into her skin, and she felt the kind of danger that didn't come from weapons or threats, but from wanting someone she barely knew, someone she shouldn't want. His forehead brushed hers. Her breath shuddered. "You shouldn't be here," she forced out. "Neither should you," he murmured. "Yet here we are." His thumb traced her jaw, slow enough to make her knees weaken. She had the terrifying sense that if he leaned in even 1 inch, she'd forget every reason she told herself to stay away. His hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, not touching her lips yet, just holding her still, making her feel everything. Her thoughts tumbled, his scent, the heat of his body, the command in his silence. It was all too much, too intense, too impossible to walk away from. His lips brushed hers for half a breath, then he stopped. Not because he wanted to, but because something inside him shattered. "You have no idea," he whispered, "how dangerous it is for you to want me back." Her pulse spiked. "Then tell me to leave." He stared at her, and didn't. A beat, a breath, a moment that could have tipped either way. A sharp knock echoed from the door. They froze. Dae-hyun's jaw clenched, eyes flickering with something darker. Fear? No. It was the look of a man who had too many secrets and too little time left to hide them. The knock came again, louder. "Boss, we need you! It's urgent!" a voice shouted from outside. Zainab's heart dropped. She hadn't realized she'd stepped straight into the center of a world she didn't understand. He held her face gently for one last second, something desperate in his touch, then stepped back. "This isn't over," he said. The door opened. Noise from the hallway bled into the room. "Sir, the elders! They're demanding an answer before midnight." Zainab's breath trembled. Answer to what? Dae-hyun didn't look at her again. "It's time?" he asked. "Yes," the man replied. "If you don't accept the marriage agreement now, tomorrow will be war." A chill rolled through her spine. Marriage? War? Agreement? The door shut behind them, leaving her alone in the room he'd almost kissed her in. She pressed a hand to her chest. She had known him for 2 nights through anonymous texts, but 1 minute in that room felt more dangerous than anything she'd survived her whole life. She whispered into the silence, "Who are you?" as if the city outside was daring her to find out. If you're already holding your breath, wondering what happens next, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because stories like this hit even harder when you're part of the journey. The rain-muted lights of Seoul blurred against the window as memories slammed back. The moment everything started. The moment she made the mistake that wasn't a mistake at all. 48 hours earlier, she had landed in Korea exhausted, disoriented, and desperate. Her suitcase bruised her heel as she dragged it into the icy night, cold slicing right through the thin jacket she bought in Lagos. The taxi system confused her. She had no Korean SIM card yet, and the battery on her phone clung to 3% like it was begging for mercy. She just wanted to get to her tiny studio and sleep for a week. Instead, the rideshare she booked never came. Her charger was buried deep somewhere in her luggage, and the cold bit at her fingers until they went numb. She remembered whispering, "God, just one thing today. Just let one thing go right." It didn't. When she finally reached the building that was supposed to be her apartment, the landlord refused to hand over the key until the next morning. Standing on the street with nowhere to go, her breath fogging the air, she felt the trembling weight of everything she'd run from: debts, heartbreak, loneliness, failure. Her frozen fingers typed a message to the friendly traveler she met briefly during a layover. He'd given her his number, in case she ever needed help settling in. She typed quickly before the phone died. "If I run away tonight, will anyone even come looking for me? Send." The phone died immediately. She sighed, hugging her arms tight. It was just a message, a cry into the void. But the void answered. Her phone vibrated back to life for a split second. Just long enough to show a reply from an unknown number. People chase what they're afraid to lose. She frowned. That wasn't the traveler. Wrong number. Definitely. But the words, they felt like someone had looked straight into her soul. Then the screen went black again. She almost forgot about it as she dragged her luggage down the street until she reached the glowing doors of the job she'd booked back in Nigeria. The Silver Eden? A luxury underground club, high-class clients, strict rules. No nonsense. The manager had said over email, "Arrive looking presentable, speak little, observe everything." She stepped through the doors and her world shifted. Warm lighting, velvet booths, silent piano, a scent like whiskey, smoke, and money. Her breath caught. This place was not for girls like her. But she needed the job. A woman in black approached, handed her a uniform, and said, "You're on VIP service tonight. Don't spill anything, don't stare too long, and don't speak unless spoken to." Zainab nodded. Of course. But when she stepped into the VIP section, her body froze. At the far end of the room, sitting alone, was the man whose gaze felt like gravity bending. Sharp suit, sharp eyes, sharp silence. Kang Dae-hyun. She didn't know his name then. She only knew one thing. The moment his eyes met hers, she forgot the cold, the exhaustion, the fear. She forgot everything. Because something in him, something dark, lonely, dangerous, recognized something in her. And she had no idea that he was the same man who texted her back. No idea that her message had reached the most forbidden person in the entire city. And no idea that in 48 hours, he would be the groom who never showed up to his wedding. Because of her. The first glass she carried to his table trembled in her hand. Zainab blamed the cold, or jet lag, or the fact that her entire life had tilted off its axis in less than 12 hours. Anything but the truth. That the man seated alone in the darkest corner of the VIP section was already unraveling her without saying a word. She lowered the glass carefully. "Your drink, sir." His eyes lifted to hers, and the room seemed to fold inward. They were dark, steady, unreadable, not curious, not kind, just aware, as if he'd been waiting for something he didn't expect to arrive. "Thank you," he said. His voice was low, calm, dangerous in how controlled it sounded. She nodded quickly and turned to leave, but his gaze followed her until she disappeared behind the velvet curtain. From that moment on, everything changed. She served him again 20 minutes later. Then again. Each time, the air between them grew heavier. Not with threat, but with something coiled and restrained. When she set the next glass down, he spoke without looking up. "You're new." "Yes." "You don't look like you belong here?" Her fingers tightened around the tray. "I work here." "That's not what I meant." She didn't answer. He finally lifted his eyes to her again, slow this time, studying, measuring, as if he were deciding something that had consequences. "You shake when you're nervous," he said. Her heart kicked violently. I'm not nervous. His lips almost curved, almost. Then you should be. She left before he could say more, pulse racing. Back in the service hall, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Did the cold get worse? Her breath caught. It was him. The man from the message. The wrong number. Her thumbs hovered. She typed back slowly. I think I just walked into the wrong life. 3 dots appeared. Then, sometimes the wrong life is where the truth starts. She swallowed. Who are you? Several seconds passed. Then, someone who isn't free? Her chest tightened. Then why? Are you talking to me? His reply came after a pause so long she thought he'd disappear. Because you sound like someone who wants to be. Her shift ended after midnight. Exhaustion pulled at her limbs as she dragged herself back to the tiny room the landlord had finally opened for her. The walls were bare, the mattress thin, the heater unreliable, but it was hers. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Tell me what you're running from. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. She'd known this man for less than a day. A stranger. A mistake. Yet something in his words felt like a hand reaching through the dark. She answered honestly. Failure. Silence. Feeling invisible. The reply came slower this time. Then we're more alike than you think. They talked until 3 a.m. Not about names. Not about faces. Only fears. Regrets. The quiet ache of wanting to disappear without being forgotten. By the time she fell asleep, her heart felt raw and strangely lighter. The next evening, when she walked back into the club, she felt him before she saw him. Same booth, same posture, same stillness. But this time, when she approached with his drink, his gaze softened, just enough to be dangerous. You came back, he said. I work here, she replied. No, you chose to. Their eyes held. Her phone vibrated in her pocket at the same instant. She didn't need to check to know it was him. That night, the texts turned different, warmer, sharper, more aware of the spaces between words. Do you ever feel like you're standing on the edge of something you shouldn't step into? She sent. His reply took longer. Then, every day, and one day soon, I won't be allowed to turn back. Her stomach tightened. Why? There was a long pause. Because in 3 days, my life stops belonging to me. Her breath caught. What happens in 3 days? The typing dots appeared, then vanished. When the reply came, it was colder. I become a man I promised myself I'd never be. She didn't know what he meant, but she felt the weight of it. At the club, tension grew sharper with each hour. He stopped talking much, started watching. One night, as she turned to leave his table, his hand closed around her wrist, gentle but unyielding. Don't disappear, he said quietly. Her heart slammed into her ribs. I won't. His grip lingered a fraction too long. That night, their texts grew dangerous. Not explicit, but intimate. Questions about the way each other's voices sounded, about scars, about things they wanted but were afraid to need. On the second night, she sent, What do you look like? Several seconds passed. Then, someone you shouldn't get attached to. Her fingers trembled. Too late. He didn't reply for a long time. When he did, his words were heavy. Meet me tomorrow night. Her heart leapt and dropped. Where? A hotel. I'll send the address. After tomorrow, I won't be free anymore. Fear wrapped around her excitement. Why do I feel like you're saying goodbye? His reply came like a blade wrapped in silk. Because I am. The next day at the club, everything felt wrong. Guards moved more than usual. Men whispered in corners. The manager snapped at everyone. Zainab felt eyes on her from every direction. When she served Dae-hyun that night, his expression was different. Taut, as if he were holding back an entire storm. He leaned closer when she placed the glass down. "You shouldn't come tonight," he murmured. Her heart stuttered. "You're the one who asked me to meet. And I was selfish for it." Her pulse raced. "Why? What's happening?" For the first time, something like regret crossed his face. 3 days ago," he said softly, "you texted the wrong number." Her breath hitched. "And 3 days from now," he continued, "I am supposed to become someone you should never be near." Her vision blurred. "You already are," she whispered. Silence fell between them, heavy, loaded. Then his phone vibrated. He glanced down. Something hardened in his eyes. "It's time," he said quietly. "For what?" "For the life I didn't choose." That night, standing outside the glowing entrance of the luxury hotel he'd sent her, Zainab hesitated. The rain had started again. Her phone buzzed. Room 1809. Her breath shook as she stepped inside, and she had no idea that by sunrise, the city would be preparing for the most powerful mafia wedding in a decade. And the man waiting for her upstairs would be the groom. The elevator ride to the 18th floor felt longer than it should have. Zainab stood alone inside the mirrored box, watching her own reflection tremble back at her. Her heartbeat thudded so loud, she was sure the cameras could hear it. Every floor it passed stole another breath from her lungs. When the door slid open, the hallway was silent. Too silent. Soft golden lights lined the carpeted floor. Room 1809 waited at the far end. Her phone vibrated once in her palm. "I'm here." She didn't ask how he knew she'd arrived. She walked. The door opened almost immediately after she knocked. Dae-hyun stood there, jacket abandoned, tie loosened, the city's glow outlining the hard planes of his face. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them felt charged. Dangerous. "You came," he said softly. "So did you," she replied. He stepped aside and let her in. The room was vast, all glass and shadow, soul spread endlessly beyond the windows. The door shut behind her with a quiet click that sounded too final. Neither spoke at first. They stood a few steps apart, eyes locked, the weight of everything unsaid pressing between them. "Why here?" she asked finally. "Because this is the only place in this city where I'm not expected to wear a mask," he answered. Her breath trembled. She took one step closer. "So who are you? Here?" she asked. His gaze darkened. "Someone who wants to forget tomorrow." The space between them vanished in seconds. Not in a rush, not in desperation, in something slower, more dangerous. His hand found her waist. Hers curled into the fabric of his shirt. Their foreheads touched again, breath mingling, hearts pounding against ribs that suddenly felt too small. For one suspended moment, the world shrank to heat and breath, and the way her pulse jumped under his fingers. "If I don't stop now," he whispered. She lifted her eyes. "Then don't." Their lips met, not with hunger, but with restraint stretched to the breaking point. A kiss that said everything neither of them was ready to say out loud. And then he pulled back. A harsh sound tore from his throat as he turned away, hands braced on the window, staring down at the city like it might swallow him whole. "I can't," he said. Her heart lurched. "Because of what happens tomorrow?" He went very still. "So you do know," he said quietly. "I know something," she answered. "Not enough. Never enough." He faced her again. "I'm getting married tomorrow," he said flatly. The words felt unreal, like they belonged to another story. Her chest constricted. "Then why did you bring me here?" "Because I needed to see the face of the one thing that made me doubt everything," he replied. Silence crashed between them. "You should go," he said. She shook her head. You don't get to decide that after everything you made me feel. His jaw tightened. If you stay, you'll be dragged into something you can't escape. I already was, she said softly. For a moment, he looked at her like he was memorizing her. Then his phone vibrated. Once, twice, again. He didn't need to look to know who it was. It's begun, he murmured. What has? She asked. The countdown. He walked her to the door himself. When she turned the handle, she paused. Is any part of what you felt real? He met her eyes. Every part, he said. She left before the answer broke her. By the time she reached the street, the rain had stopped. Seoul glittered like nothing in the world was wrong. But inside her chest, something cracked quietly. The next morning, the city woke to rumors. Zainab heard them first at the club, while the staff scrambled in frantic whispers. Security doubled. Phones rang constantly. The manager's voice carried sharp through the halls. The wedding is today, someone hissed. Which wedding? The one everyone's been waiting for. Fear crept into her spine. She didn't ask which groom. By midday, his booth was empty. By afternoon, the club was shut down without explanation. By evening, the city was on edge. And by nightfall, the wedding hall was filled. Cameras flashed outside the grand entrance. Black cars lined the streets like a procession of shadows. Inside, silk and crystal and money shimmered under chandeliers. The bride sat in white, hands folded tightly in her lap. The groom's seat was empty. Minutes passed, whispers spread, phones vibrated in palms. Still no groom. Zainab stood alone in her apartment, staring at her phone. Every second felt too loud. She typed once, "Are you alive?" No reply. Inside the hall, tension rippled. The elders' faces hardened. Guards shifted. The bride's family murmured angrily. Then a voice rose. "He's been taken." Another snapped back. "Or hidden." Accusations erupted like sparks near gasoline. "This is a trap." "Which family said it?" "This wedding was supposed to seal everything." Zainab's phone vibrated in her hand. One message. "Don't look for me." Her heart seized. "Where are you?" She typed frantically. No reply. Inside the hall, shouting escalated. One elder rose to his feet. "If he does not appear in 5 minutes, tonight will end in blood." Outside, sirens wailed somewhere far off. Then, the massive doors swung open. Silence crashed over the room. Daehyun stepped inside. No guards, no smile, no hesitation. Every camera turned, every breath stopped. He walked slowly down the aisle meant for a groom. The bride rose in shock. The elders stared. And when he reached the center of the hall, he finally spoke. "This marriage was meant to trade my future for your past," he said calmly. "I refuse to be the price you pay for old deals." Chaos erupted. Shouts, orders, threats hurled across the hall. "You disgrace us! You'll destroy everything!" He didn't flinch. "If I accept this," he continued, voice steady, "the next generation will inherit the same chains. It ends with me." The bride's family surged forward. Guards moved. A shot rang through the hall, not aimed at him, a warning. Zainab screamed as the sound echoed through her phone speaker. Her door rattled suddenly. A heavy fist pounded it once, twice, 3 times. Her blood turned to ice. Zainab backed away from the door as another heavy knock slammed into it. Her breath came fast, shallow. Every instinct screamed that the danger she'd only heard whispers of had finally found her. "Open the door," a man's voice called in Korean. Calm, too calm. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone. Unknown number. One new message. "Don't open it, I'm coming." Her heart nearly burst through her chest. The pounding came again, harder this time, rattling the thin door in its frame. "Miss Zainab?" The voice continued, now edged with warning. We only want to talk. Only want to talk. She had never believed that lie more in her life. The lock rattled. She backed toward the tiny kitchen, eyes darting for something, anything she could use to defend herself. A pan. A knife. Her thoughts tangled with fear. Then suddenly, the pounding stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Silence rushed back in, loud and suffocating. Her phone vibrated again. Go to the fire stairs. Now! She didn't stop to think. She grabbed her jacket, flung the door open, and ran. Down 6 flights of stairs, barely touching the steps. Every echo of her own footsteps sounded like pursuit. When she burst out the back entrance into the alley, the night air slammed into her lungs like ice. A black car rolled to a stop in front of her. The passenger door flew open. Get in, Dae-hyun's voice commanded. She didn't hesitate. The car tore into the night just as shouts erupted behind them. Shapes spilled into the alley, too late. Zainab's body shook as reality caught up to her. You disappeared on your wedding day, she whispered, voice breaking. They were ready to kill each other. They still might, he replied grimly. She turned to him, eyes wet. What did you do? What I should have done years ago, he said. I chose. The city blurred past the windows. Sirens howled in the distance. You walked into that hall knowing they could kill you, she said. Yes. For me? For the future, he corrected quietly. And because when I looked at you in that hotel room, I finally understood what I was giving up if I didn't. Her chest ached. Then why do I feel like we're not safe? She asked. His silence was answer enough. They stopped at an old warehouse near the river. Guards waited, but they weren't the hardened men from the club. These ones looked like survivors. Only people I still trust, he said. Inside the warehouse, the tension finally cracked. Zainab's knees nearly gave out as she leaned against a pillar. This is insane, she whispered. Yesterday, I was pouring drinks. Now I'm running from mafia families. And tomorrow, he said, stepping closer, you'll have to decide if you want to keep running with me. She stared at him. You're asking me to throw my life into your war. No, he said softly. I'm asking you to walk into my freedom. Her laugh broke into a sob. You don't get to make it sound beautiful. He lifted her face gently. I don't want to rule anything anymore, he said. I only want a life that doesn't feel like a prison. And the terrifying part is, the only time I ever felt that was with you. Her heart shattered open. And what about them? She whispered. Your father, the elders, the empire. They will hunt me, he answered honestly. And if they find me, I won't be allowed to walk away twice. Fear flickered across her face. Then why not finish it their way? She asked. Why not marry her and end this war before it starts? His eyes darkened. Because if I accept that marriage, the next son will be born into chains before he can walk, he said. I won't be the man who hands his child the same curse. Silence pressed between them. Outside, distant gunfire cracked through the air. Her breath hitched. They're already fighting, she whispered. Yes, he said. And now they'll fight without my name attached to their alliance. He stepped closer. You should leave, he said softly, before my world destroys yours. Tears slid down her cheeks. She laughed weakly. You already destroyed it. You just rebuilt it in the same moment. His hand hovered at her waist like he was afraid to touch her again. You could still walk away. She leaned in, forehead resting against his chest. I ran from Nigeria to survive, she whispered. I'm not running from the only thing that ever made me feel alive. His arms closed around her, For a moment, the world outside ceased to exist. Then one of the guards rushed in. "They've turned on your father," he said urgently. "The elders think he hid you. They're calling it betrayal." Daehyun stiffened. "Then they've made their mistake," he said quietly. Zainab pulled back. "What does that mean?" "It means they've pushed this beyond contracts," he replied. "Now it's personal." Her fear returned full force. "And where does that leave us?" He met her eyes. "At the beginning of something neither of us asked for, but both of us chose." Outside, headlights cut across the warehouse walls. More cars were coming. His phone vibrated. A message from an unknown sender. "You broke the chain. Now you'll pay the price." Zainab felt his body tense. "Who is that?" she asked. "The future," he answered. She swallowed hard. "Do we run again?" He shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "This time I stand my ground." Her breath caught. "You're going to fight them." He lifted her chin. "For the first time in my life," he said. "Not for power, not for blood, but for choice." The warehouse doors creaked open as armed figures stepped inside. Zainab's hand slipped into his, and for the first time since that wrong number changed everything, she understood the real cost of loving a man born into darkness. The screen of his phone lit up one last time. An incoming call. "Father." He stared at it, long, hard. Then he answered. "Yes," he said. Zainab held her breath. His father's voice roared through the speaker, furious and broken. "You've shattered everything." Daehyun's reply was quiet. "No, I finally built something that belongs to me." The call ended. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Zainab whispered, "What now?" He squeezed her hand. "Now," he said, eyes burning with calm resolve. "We find out who dares to follow blood when love has already chosen its side." The warehouse lights flickered. Engines idled outside. And somewhere in the city, ancient alliances collapsed like falling dominoes. The war had begun. But so had something far more dangerous. Hope. If you felt that tension in your chest, if you felt the fear, the desire, the impossible choice they just made, don't scroll past it. Like this story, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who loves dark romance, and tell me in the comments, should Daehyun fight for his freedom or disappear forever with Zainab?